Let's go. Good morning, y'all. We're talking about hypocrites, holiness, and humility. And this is actually part 4 as we do this, just so you know. But we're talking about do all kinds of good for all the right reasons. Do all kinds of good for all the right reasons. And with that, we're looking at Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. And I'm going to go ahead and take this time and put this up here so we can have it ready and talk about it. Verse 1, right? Let's look at verse 1 from Matthew chapter 6. And Jesus says it like this: "Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven." Don't do it to be seen, right? Don't do it with the motive of being seen. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. Now, that's massive. And what's massive about that is Jesus is saying, look, when you go to do something good, do it for the right reason, do it with the right motive. Don't do it and do it to be seen. Don't do it in view of others just so that they can take notice and you can get some attention, right? Do it like that and you can expect nothing coming from your Father in heaven, right? This is what Jesus says. Following that up, he says, "Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory from men. Assuredly, I say to you that they have their reward." This is the equivalent of when you're at a restaurant or retail store and they ask you, "Hey, do you want to round up your purchase for whatever?" And you say, "Oh, okay, sure. You know, it's going to a good cause, sure." And then they ring a bell and everybody from the kitchen all the way to the back room and all around are like, "All right, thank you. You know, it's just like too much. And Jesus is saying, don't do that. Don't sound off on it and make it a thing where you're getting a whole bunch of attention for doing a good thing. Do a good thing without seeking the glory of men. Do a good thing without expecting the attention of others. Do a good thing for the right reason." Jesus says they definitely have their own reward for that, right? And when we step into this further, Jesus hits us with the contrast in verses 3 and 4. He says, "But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly." Right? Some versions do not include openly, but the reward is coming from the Father directly who sees you. It's the equivalent of when we say giving to the poor is like lending to the Lord. The payback's not going to come from the poor. The reciprocity is not going to come from the poor who are still going back and forth trying to figure out how to make ends meet. The payback is going to come from the Lord. The reciprocity is going to come from the Lord. And so don't do your deeds looking for what you're going to get in return. Do your deeds out of your compassion, out of the goodness of your heart, out of being godlike. If we have any other opportunity to be godlike, there's two ways that we can truly be godlike in how we live in this Christian life. One is when we forgive people. Our forgiveness is an opportunity to exhibit godliness because God is full of grace. God is love. God is long suffering. And so when we are able to forgive others, that's us being godlike. Amen. And then when we're able to give to those who can't give it back to us, that's another position where we're able to be godlike. And thus it's as if we're lending to the Lord. It's a proverbial saying when we talk about giving to the poor is like lending to the Lord. And so Jesus is careful to point out, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, because even within yourself, right? We know we talk to ourselves, we have self-talk, and we're thinking in our subconscious mind. And so as we're thinking about it, as we're talking about it, as we're dealing with it, then we also begin to look at, okay, now that I've done this, hey, now that I've done this, what's in it for me? Now that I've done this, how do I look? Now that I've done this, what's next? Right? And that's not the intent that should be behind doing good. That's not the intent that should be behind contributing to good causes. What should be the intent is to meet a need. When you do a charitable deed, that is to meet a need. That is why when we look in the translation of the Bible and we look at it over time, and the King James versus the New King James, charity is substituted with love. Why? Because it's not just compassion. Charity is substituted with love, and it's substituted with love because that's what it should come from. It should come from your heart. It should come from a place where you know, right, that God has provided for you to provide beyond your own needs. That's what charity is. And so when we say charity, we're talking about not just giving, but giving from the heart. And when we give from the heart, then we're not concerned so much about the attention of others. When we give from the heart, we're not concerned from others glorifying us and saying, man, that was a good deed. No. When we give from the heart, we would have done it no matter what because we did it out of love. Hope that makes sense to somebody in 2025 as we keep talking about this right here. So take this into account. What Jesus is sharing is simply how we can be humble examples of charitable givers, right? The New Testament, later when Paul is talking about giving, says that the pledges made by the Corinthians, when they were heard of, inspired others to give to the cause. And since their pledges had inspired others to give to the cause, when their pledges came due in order to make the contribution a reality, Paul is saying, look, whether you give sparingly, right, or you give bountifully, the Lord is going to make what you give multiply, right? He's either going to multiply it against something that's small or multiply it against something that's large. It's the law of the harvest. And so if you sow little, expect little. If you sow bountifully, expect bountiful blessings. So if you're not doing it how you pledged, then what are you expecting others to see? So that was another side of it, where the giving that was pledged by one group had inspired giving from other groups. And Paul was emphasizing that in 2 Corinthians chapters 8 and 9, as he was talking about giving. And that's where we get into the Lord loves a cheerful giver. That you're not giving out of what? Necessity. Right? You're not giving because you need a blessing. That's not what Paul is talking about. When we talk about cheerful giving, it's a New Testament concept with the same spirit. You understand what I'm saying? When Paul mentions this in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7, and he says, hey, everybody looks into their own heart and decides what they're going to give. Not reluctantly, not under compulsion, but the Lord loves a cheerful giver, right? You're not being pressured into it. You're not being forced into it. It's a free will offering. And so when you do charitable giving, do it from the heart. And when we do it from the heart, we're doing it in such a way to where it's undeniably something that we would have done all along. You can see other parts of this. The Lord's quoted by Paul in Acts chapter 20, verse 35, where he says, it's more blessed to give than receive, right? Talking about the rewards of spiritual generosity, right? There's a spiritual reward to being generous. Luke 6:38, where it talks about give, and it will be given unto you of the same measure that you use, it'll be measured unto you. Mark chapter 12, talking about the widow's mite, right? That she gave more than anyone else because she gave her all. She didn't give a percentage, she didn't give a portion, but she gave all of what she had and put it in. Those things are recognized in the New Testament as efforts to give bountifully, to give as a blessing unto others. And what we have to realize, part of what Jesus is saying here in this New Testament delivery, is don't do it like the people who are making a show of it. Don't do it like the people who want to be seen and get glory from it. Do it from your heart, right? Don't make a lot of noise about it. Don't call a lot of attention to it. Nobody needs to know that you did it. They just need to see that it's getting done somehow within the work of the church or the community, no matter how it gets done. And there are different schools of thought on this. I understand that, right? There are those offering calls. I need 10 people with $100 to come down right now, and people march down holding their $100 bill up. Hey, I got you. Holding the checks up. I got it. Right? Dropping them in the basket. There's a visible pressure for it. There's a visible scene going on. There's a show happening, and people are witnessing it. Oh, look at that. There's a demonstration and display happening of, oh, look at the giving, look at the giving, look at the giving. When Jesus says, hey, don't even let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Keep it in mind. This is really about how we give and why we give. So when we talk about how we give and why we give, look at this. If we're doing it for the right reason, it's beneficial. It's beneficial in multiple ways if we're doing it for the right reason. If we're doing it with the wrong motives and we're doing it for the wrong reasons, listen, there's a problem. There's a real problem. And I say that in this sense because if we're doing it for the wrong reasons, this is what we're going to end up with. We're going to end up with very little being done. It fits that we're not going to see a lot of good come out of it when we're seeking glory, when we're seeking attention, when we're trying to get accolades, when we're trying to get the applause, when we're trying to get people to be like, ooh, ah, come on now. We have seen it before. We've heard it before. And now when we step back and read the text, read the red letters of the Bible that Jesus is sharing, hey man, don't do it like that. Don't call people out like that. Don't drag this out and make this a scene and have somebody on the organ, trying to get people into a quote unquote giving mood. And okay, the hush comes over the church and the speaker, we're going to slow things down right now. We're going to take some time to worship the Lord by giving. And you know what I mean? It can still be celebratory. It can still magnify the Lord, but we don't have to get into, okay, I need 10 people. 10 people with $20 come down right now. 10 people with $100 come down right now. 10 people with $50 come right down. Can I get five people who commit to $1,000? Stand up right now. I'm going to pray for you. And then we throw in the other part of, now, if you've got anything else, come on down with whatever you can give. No. Mm-mm. Not the way the Lord said to do it. Not even close. Not even close. And if we're not careful, what is that going to amount to in a spiritual transaction and equation of what we're supposed to be doing? What's that going to amount to with people's souls? What's that going to do to someone's Christianity that said, I thought it wasn't about the money. I thought it was about the Messiah. Why are we doing it like this? I thought it wasn't about how much. So why are we doing it like this? Tradition will mess us up if we keep on fooling around. Tradition will tear us up and have us on the wrong pathway if we keep fooling around. We better watch it because what Jesus said is the truth, and we need to stop following other men by tradition. Just stop it. It's not beneficial and it's not a blessing. Look what Jesus is saying. Do it as he said. Be blessed and be a blessing to other people. God bless.